All right, so I want to make an argument against most people who tend to say, oh, this game that recently was announced, whether it has a woman protagonist or something I agree with or disagree with in the trailer, is going to be a failure upon epic proportions, blah, blah, blah. Now, I know sometimes it's very, very easy to signify what might fail, right? I believe if you make a live service game that is similar to the vein of Overwatch, and we know that that market is like very oversaturated, and a lot of live service games, if they don't have much to offer on the table, we've known that they have flopped. That's very easy to guesstimate, right? But for single player games with heavily awarded and prestigious studios, I feel like it's very hard to gauge if a future game from them is going to fail or not. There's this post by KMed, and this is the reason why this argument of sales and saying stuff is gonna flop kind of annoys me, is because there is like no real gameplay of like 3 of these games, which is like GTA 6, which is Witcher 4, which is Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet. There is gameplay of Ghosts of Yotai, but people kind of prejudge that game as well because they believe that Erika Ishii is like controlling the studio. Dumbass arguments like that with no real factual basis of the sort, where voice actors themselves had to come out and say, we rarely get control, if any. I think people need to calm the fuck down, right? We can ad lib or stuff like that, but some of our power is still like minuscule compared to the studio heads, where you have to like fall in line and listen to the script that they wrote.
You mentioned that Pac was at these table reads.
Yes.
He was originally cast to be Sharif.
Yes.
Talk to us about why he's not Sharif.
Okay. It's to my understanding, the Hughes brothers worked all of Pac's earlier shit, videos. Brenda Got a Baby, all that shit. So they knew him, knew he was difficult to work with. But I think New Line wanted him in the movie.
Yeah, he was big.
Juice, Poetic Justice, you know, and y'all have a relationship with him. And shot a lot of his videos.
Right.
We want him.
Right.
So who knows what happened, but okay, we'll get him in the movie. But I don't think it was the plan to keep him in the movie. We all know Pac, very vocal, very outspoken. He wanted to understand why he was being Sharif. Why is 8 the banger? Lorenz is the banger. Kane is the banger. Why I got to be the voice of reason? I'm fucking
Every crew needs a voice of reason.
Tupac, though. Why,
Right.
you know, my characters aren't the voice of reason.
Right.
You want me to play the voice of reason? Show the people why I'm the voice of reason. What, my brother got killed, I killed a nigga, went to prison. Show that. They didn't have time for that. We just want you to, man, we be at the readings and it's time, I read my part and Jada read her part and some time for my nigga Pac to read. Pac go.
Gemini's.
Every time.
Every time.
Every time. And he would sit there and look at the script, and you think he's finna read, and why is my character playing this? But every time, he did it every time, to where they brought in Vontae.
It's just something that's common sense, but people still grifted on this game and make their own like sort of assumptions and misinformation that they roll with, etc. So K-Med here, he says that some of y'all are gonna be mad as hell in the next couple of years, which I interpreted this as people are gonna be pissed when some of these games do really, really well after saying they were like woke garbage for like years. And I seen this before. Again, we had media discourse where games, movies, people said they were either woke or something like that. TV shows, they grifted on them. X-Men 97, the Fallout TV show, Silent Hill 2 Remake, Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster, the Dragon Quest like HD 3D sort of remake that they put out, Barbie, etc. We've seen media that was grifted on that managed to turn up well, saying either they were going to fail for various reasons or they were going to fail because of sales, and they turned out to be either nice selling games or well received games by the general public at hand, and not these guys in particular, because they don't understand that they are just a fraction of the buyers here. I think some of these games are going to do really, really well, and the last few studios, again, Ghost of Tsushima, it did well, received well. GTA 6, they did GTA 5, and GTA 5 was a monumental hit. Witcher, Wild Hunt was like received well, people loved it, and the DLC Blood and Wine. Cyberpunk was also very successful for CD Projekt Red, even with the launch bugs. Still a success. Fucking crazy. And then The Last of Us Part 2, divisive, but it sold well according to Sony and Neil Druckmann, and the game was reviewed well by critics, but there is a division between the people who love the game and hate it. And I'm seeing a lot of people come out and say they love the game, which is a testament to some of the controversial things done in the plot itself. I don't think Intergalactic will even be as, you know, fucking controversial for killing off like a main protagonist or anything like that. If you want my opinion, like I said, I kind of like The Last of Us Part 2, but that's neither here nor there. The issue here is that people are preemptively saying failure, 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 and it seems to be a parrot hole of YouTubers that are indoctrinating this logic, and I find it to be interesting, curious, and well, downright stupid if you want my personal opinion, because usually we as gamers, we wait until the game comes out and then we get the 411, as opposed to teaser trailers or games with like next to no gameplay getting revealed and people saying they're a failure already. Like I said, it's easier to signify particular failures like live service, where there are live service games that have failed in bulk. Babylon's Fall, Concord, whatever that game was that Square Enix tried to put out where it was similar to a fucking Splatoon. Like those games in particular, I can see why they fail, because the previous predecessor were already like really good, whether it's Splatoon or whether it's like fucking Overwatch or Fortnite Battle Royales, all that other stuff. Those folks are gonna stay on those successful live service games because that is what they know. They stick to what they know. They don't need like several other imitators if they aren't doing something dynamic, interesting, unique, and different. It's easier to gauge those failures in particular. And most like casual folks, they are more into the whole single player kick to begin with. They don't stick around for multiplayer that much at all. We're talking about single player games that are being done by prestigious studios. I want to play an excerpt from the Birdman's like video. Shout outs to him for making this video about what is grifting, and we're gonna continue on from here, and you're gonna really get my point as to why I don't like preemptive sales judging on an unreleased game, because we never know what's going to happen. And this is a sort of trend that has been going on in the YouTube atmosphere, and I'm gonna let the video play right now. So let's check if my shit is like good. All right, here we go.
In their pursuit of farming and harvesting outrage, media grifters latch onto anything they believe will be controversial to the public. Whether that's a game or a movie being so-called woke, a media property adapting something with source material and that material is being changed in some way, or just if a woman or a black person is in a prominent role. The strategy is simple. Make a video or Twitter post about a media property that hasn't been released to the public, complain about it by featuring the hot talking points of the day, which these days tends to be how woke something is, possibly predict it'll fail, rake in the engagement. When that media property releases, two things can happen. One, if the general audience dislikes that media property, make a video or a post gloating that you were right about it sucking, and therefore any media properties that even superficially resemble this one are also shit and will fail, so people should trust your expertise on this subject. Or two, the general audience likes that media property. When this happens, two more things can happen. A, you can ignore that the general audience likes the thing and continue to push the rhetoric while teaching your audience to call the general audience sheep and NPCs that like slop.
So does this movie answer the question, did Gladiator need a sequel? It does answer it, and the answer is no. But was I entertained? Yeah, like if I'm giving the Commodus thumb there, I'd give the movie a thumbs up. Have myself an enjoyable time, no alcohol required.
But I'll give the CGI sharks this. They did just as good of an acting job as the overrated, overcast Pedro Pascal. You know, the guy who called half the country Confederates and those bad guys from World War II, and for his efforts, he gets cast in absolutely everything, which will, I think, eventually lead to a soft reboot of Being John Malkovich.
Or B, you can lean into the like of the general audience and pretend it wasn't woke, and that's why it did well.
I mean, Peach is just like, there's literally, Peach has done nothing but be stoic and smart and powerful and commanding, and Mario is bumbling, stumbling idiot. Look, like right there, she just has this confidence. You know, she's just standing there with all this confidence.
What's going on, everybody? I just watched the Super Mario movie, and this is just gonna be a quick review of my thoughts on the film. I loved it.
You see what I mean? This is very important to signify, because I personally believe that when something comes out and is highly acclaimed, despite people grifting on it for so many years, it simply means that, like, they engage farmed the fuck out of that, going off complete like misinformation or hate brigades for the longest time, and they don't care because it lines their pockets. They would rather say something destructive than constructive at all and try to have an actual conversation and analysis as to the things that are probably going to do well in the future. All right, let's be honest, like, these projects are probably not going to all fail, but so many people say it religiously over and over and over again. Like, let's go to Intergalactic, right? Oh, it's going to fail because the protagonist is a masculine woman. As what people say, by the way. I'm just sort of like paraphrasing them, but look.
Too masculine for some. And I mean, what part of this woman is ugly? Is it the hair? You don't like the hairstyle? Is that what makes it woke? Well then, you're going to have to explain why this masculine woman and this shaved head wasn't woke back then. Because we all know how you love Sarah Connor and Ellen Ripley, now don't we?
Look at that. Sarah Connor, ripped, I mean shredded to pieces. All right, and you supposedly don't like that. Ellen Ripley, bald, shaven. One of the best female protagonists to have ever roamed the earth to a lot of these grifters. And it seems like the misinformation game keeps on trucking. I posted that for a reason, and I'm gonna shout out this video and put it in the description, because credit to Birdman for putting it in these terms and making it as simple as I could ever possibly fathom to even say it like this. This is a huge issue. It's like generalizations of sales and things of that nature due to these aforementioned reasons is kind of hypocritical, all right? and when something comes out and is good, people just seem to either be in denial, like he said, or people seem to either love it all of a sudden. Like X-Men 97, oh, we just love it now. It's amazing, it's good. When you swear you hated that shit up and down in every fucking video you made beforehand, it's a grift, it's an exploit. All right, these people are not genuine in the slightest, in my opinion. They just want hate clicks, rage bait. That's what it's for. That's why I don't like it. And some of these arguments goes into how I feel about it, right? Where it's like, number one, I don't think these people realize that the casual audience, they underestimate them to a huge degree. The casual audience, the casual gamer, that casual moviegoer, they don't give a shit about any of this drama. I'm sorry, they don't give a fuck about any of this. I can see why you people hate them. I was on that fence for the longest time as well before I realized, you know, who gives a fuck? A casual buys a game, watches a game, gets a movie, it doesn't matter. You know, they're in and out. But the general consensus of the casual gamer is they don't tune into YouTube drama. They don't care about a fucking dislike bar. They're not gonna go and get an extension to see dislikes. All they care about is what is on the box, if the game is cool for a weekend, whether I could play it if my kids are away or something like that, and that's it. They do not tune into any of this bullshit. And word of mouth also travels really fast. Silent Hill 2 remake, yet again, a lot of hate with that initial trailer, a complete 180 turnaround at launch. The same can happen for Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet. It can happen. We can see it. If that gameplay trailer is good, a lot more people are going to be on board with the game. And I think that's what some of these people kind of fear, is the factor they cannot control. A factor they cannot control with casuals is that they cannot make these people do whatever the fuck they want. And that is a huge selling demographic. They cannot push the us versus them mentality on the casual gamer, because the casual gamer is offline to everything that they're trying to claim and say, don't buy this, don't buy that, etc. They are offline to that. They are drama free to the situation. So this is why these people call them shills or sheep or you like slop, because they have no other alternative but to label them as that, because they can't control that demographic. I would honestly say a lot of people getting into Silent Hill remake, of those like 1 million sold for the first time, where it's like it sells really fast, I guarantee a bunch of that demographic is like casual gamers. All right, it's not like the hardcore purists. Oh, I don't care about Silent Hill 2 remake, I'm going to just play the original. You guys are a statistic. You are part of a demographic, but the casual audience also is a part of that as well. And I see people hate them for basically not being in the loop and agreeing with them. That's number one. There's like billions of people in this world. Twitter and fucking YouTube are bubbles at the end of the day compared to people that refuse to participate and take part of this action and all of this drama and all of this controversy. And you have to count them as a statistic when you are measuring sales. If you don't, then you're just completely delusional at this point, right? Hardcore gamers and casual gamers will indeed be included in the spectrum of a game selling, whether you like it or not. That's point number one. Point number two is I believe that folks using Steam DB or Steam charts or whatever to try to gauge sales on a multi-plat game, you guys are the stupidest motherfuckers I think I ever seen on earth. All right, because there were people doing this with Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster, and I was just like, okay, you guys know that Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster is not only on Steam, it's on Xbox Series S and X, and it's also on PS5. If you are not counting the sales of consoles or trying to figure that out in some way, which a company is going to tell you, which is why Capcom said the game did decent for us. If you're not taking that into account, you are being disingenuous. 100%. Like, Steam DB is not the tell-all for a multiplat in terms of player count and sales. Like, again, you just end up looking wrong and you end up looking like a dumbass if you rely on this for that specific instance. It's up to the company to tell us, like, hey, this is where all the console sales came in, this is where all the PC sales came in. NPDs are really good for this because they accrue all that information. So I would say that's the best bet to look at what's on the sales charts for that month after the month ends. If you're looking at Steam charts to gauge that for player count, you are probably going to be severely mistaken, right? And then there's the idea that people do not realize that controversy creates cash sometimes. All right, look. You make countless videos. Let's make a sit rep. Let's make an example. If you make countless videos hating on something over and over and over again, like hundreds of videos, whether it's on a particular actor or person or a particular game, you're going to be bound to intrigue someone into that game. It's like, damn, this guy's really going hard on this company. It makes me curious, are their games really that bad? You know, people are gonna ask those questions logically if you do that, right? And then guess what? You've grifted all this time. You said, people, just don't buy this, don't buy this, don't buy this, don't buy this. If you do your sheep, shield, etc. But you don't know that your hate is going to influence someone in terms of morbid curiosity. And I think that there are content creators that don't fucking know this. There's people that don't talk about this. They're completely unaware to that fact. Like, you are going to influence someone to try a game because what you're doing is you're unknowingly hating all this time. You're getting this grifting money, etc. It's like, you know, just keep doing that shit. You do it over and over, but you're unwillingly promoting the game. And it gets worse when the game comes out, and if it is received well, you've done all this grifting and hating for literally nothing. Like, the only accomplishment probably is, hey, I got a bait check, but in terms of being right, this is what causes people to retroactively go back to your videos and say, ha ha, look at you, look at this fucking Metacritic score, look at this shit, what are you gonna say about this? This game is a success. That's what people do on YouTube. All right, they will rub it in your face if a video has aged poorly. And I understand going against the grain and having the unpopular opinion. I think people can still have unpopular opinions. But if you're dead set on something and it's mostly wrong given how it is perceived and you can't make a really good argument for it, something just is successful, the numbers are there, men lie, women lie, the numbers don't lie, then at that point you're just kind of being in denial. If you constantly say like, oh, it didn't do well, I fucking hate this, the shields can have it or whatever, you're just kind of being in denial because you were dead set on something failing and it didn't turn out to be what you estimated. And there's one more thing that sort of bugs me. It's like one more thing from fucking Jackie Chan Adventures. One more thing that bugs the shit out of me when people talk about sales, all right? And it's like in two parts. Number one is that there are people that will say a game has to sell the exact budgets of what it was made in order to be a success. Like Marvel Spider-Man 2, it allegedly got like 315 million in budget. But what people don't know is that Sony and Marvel, they have a terminus contract involved. Marvel, they don't want anything less than like 6 million for the deal to be maintained. This was leaked in documents of the Insomniac leak. You can go look all this stuff up. It was leaked in the Insomniac document leaks and how they have to make over 6 million in bundles and everything like that in order to keep the Marvel deals. That's what Marvel wants. Sony, they have their own sales expectations, but supposedly Spider-Man 2 was on a budget of $315 million. So people will say, oh, it's got to make all that back in order to be a success. This is logic of movies like spilling over into video games and how they sell. The sales of a movie and how it's supposed to sell and make over budget and break even, when it comes to a video game, it's like entirely different, right? And I believe that sometimes people like to conflate the two a lot. For video games, you see Insomniac Games celebrating the whole series and saying that we got put up to an astounding 50 million units sold. And that is less than the significant budget of Marvel Spider-Man 2. The reason for this is to find out if a series is profitable or not. And that's what a lot of people don't tend to bring up. If the series is in the green enough, even if we got like 50 million copies between Marvel Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and Spider-Man 2 sold, they are celebrating this. They are happy with these numbers. And as a game, god damn it, why the fuck did I click on X? As a game series, as a franchise, the sales will continue onward. There is a lifetime of sales overall before they are finished with the result, right? So RE4 Remake, that's still selling. It recently got like 8 million units or whatever. It's still selling despite coming out a year ago. They don't stop counting those numbers until they stop counting them. And I don't like that people don't understand there is general sales expectations. So if a company says a game has to sell like 7 million to be a success, it doesn't have to sell like 300 million to be a success to the company. Do you understand? The publisher made a goal. If they hit that goal or not, they will say it out in public, but there is sales expectations for a certain game. And then if the game keeps selling over and over again, then it goes beyond their sales expectations, right? They can say like, hey, 4 million, we want to hit that. If it hits that, that is our sales expectations. Then if it goes up in a couple of years to like 10 million, 12 million, 13 million, it'll be like, it basically has exceeded our sales expectations. And there are people that don't talk about this stuff because they make these brain dead arguments that it has to sell budget number in order to be a success, when there's been plenty of games that sold at a targeted sales expectation and it was successful. Then we have stuff where Capcom had to lower the sales forecast of DMC Devil May Cry, the reboot, by the way. The reboot went down in sales figures. And that's when you know it's a flop, because the company is trying to fire sell it. They're trying to get it out. No one is really buying it. And now we have this tale of the game not really selling well. When that happens, that's when you have a failure. When they're not proud of talking about this, this is your failure right here. So I don't know how people don't know the difference, how they can't tell the paradigm, how they can't really analyze this properly, but I can, right? And one more thing I'll say, sales really aren't indicative of quality. Like, something can sell poorly, but the game can still be pretty fucking good. What people like to do is conflate the two. If the game has really, really rave reviews but didn't sell well, they'll consider that as a victory because game didn't sell, ha ha ha. If the game does poorly on all fronts, it's a victory. It's a win, it's a W. If the game does well on sales and reviews across the board, critics, users, and everything, that's when the denial creeps in. That's when it all creeps in. They either pretend to be a fake fan the entire time, or they will be in this delusional bubble when the numbers are right in front of them. That's how I perceive these things. Some of this shit is really fucking lame. Like, fucking Evil Within 2, like, your logic is so flawed because Evil Within 2 did not sell well. From what I'm reading on these forums and from what people are saying, they consider the game to be a flop. But Evil Within 2 was a great game and didn't sell well. So by your logic, oh, game didn't sell well, it's a fucking bad game. It's like, no, a lot of people like Evil Within 2. So what is the logic there? It's a bad game? Just say it sold poorly, but it's a good game. And that's what people generally perceive that as, right? So I'm just sitting here like I'm just debunking some of this shit. I think that people have terrible fucking arguments about how they coordinate cells. They try to look into the future, hope they future-proof themselves, but when the numbers start dropping and when Metacritics start coming out and they start to look high, I think that's when boots start to get shaken. I thoroughly agree with K-Med. Like, in the future, these games that people grifted on, these 4 games, some of them are going to be like very, very successful. We already know one of them is going to be super successful no matter what, even with a female protagonist, even if people don't like it, and that's GTA 6. So that's one knocked off. If the other 3 are really good and successful, you got, or if they even like have good scores in general, you guys are going to have a fucking brain aneurysm from all this grifting. I think people should just calm it down a notch. Take a chill pill, smoke some weed, touch some grass, and realize that we don't know what's going to happen until more information comes out with Ghosts of Yotei, with GTA 6, with The Witcher 4, and with Intergalactic. Oh my god, and here's this fucking Concord argument once again. Your personal boogeyman, people always bringing up how Concord sold as if it's going to affect any of those like 4 games at all. I don't get it. I don't understand. And what people are saying is I think Concord's failure had nothing to do with anything like that of what you proclaim as woke or character models. It was basically not for the audience it was marketed to. People kept saying it was a hero shooter like Overwatch. I never really played Overwatch, so I assume this was correct. Concord entered an overcrowded market of shooters that were established in FPS games that are free. Didn't abandon Concord because of crappy character design. They just didn't stop playing the shooters they were playing. Like most folks now, they're on COD and shit like that, right? I said this earlier. It's just, it came out at the wrong place at the wrong time. And oh my god, it's just overall, like I said, people saying the Naughty Dog game will fail again. The last game they had was like multiple Game of the Year winners and fucking sold properly. So even at that point, it's just kind of like, if any of that happens, it's going to be absolutely insane. You know, and it is a new IP. I don't expect it to be a juggernaut like GTA's. Like, I don't expect Intergalactic to be a juggernaut like GTA at all. But I do expect it to have the same pedigree as The Last of Us Part 2 gameplay-wise, because no matter what you think about that story, with The Last of Us Part 2, the gameplay was very good. And this is a gameplay-centric, Naughty Dog's deepest game, right? That's the more, you know, goopy brain, central nervous system bullshit that I want to see. I want to see that gameplay overall, and if the gameplay is good, I thought a couple of people were like, oh, gameplay is king first, not just only character designs or character model. What happened to the gameplay being king first versus all this judgmental crap that's going on, right? Overall, I believe that people should stop throwing darts at the board, because as it is written here as a prime example, it was so many people trying to make false claims on X-Men 97, so many people trying to say it was going to be the worst thing ever. Then when it comes out, a lot of backtracking, 180, backpedaling, you know, the whole rhetoric. I always liked it, or oh, I'm sorry, I have to make an apology video, or shit like that, or people just living in denial. It's just like, I don't understand. What is the major malfunction here? Like, why not just wait until shit comes out that you could judge it? It's just par for the course right there, right? Like, why not just wait until shit releases more information, more thoughts, and then you could just judge it from there, and then we'll see where the consensus goes on these things. But I think a lot of people are going to be in for a rude awakening, man. I really do. Until next time, I will see you guys later. I'm going to end the video. And wow, the overall state of gaming discourse and the community, pathetic.